Welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from Northwest Community Television. It's time for a look at what's new in Maple Grove and a look back at the November 4th Council meeting. All next on the Maple Grove City Report. And thanks again for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report, joined by City Administrator Al Madsen. Al, welcome again.
Thank you, Dave.
We've got a council meeting to talk about that was a little longer than normal, about 35 minutes, but I understand from Al some warm and fuzzy moments, so stay tuned for that. But first, what's new around Maple Grove that people should know in early November?
Farmers Market goes indoors starting Thursday, which is, I'm trying to remember the date, 7th, I think.
Okay, that sounds good.
And from 3 to 6. And so they'll have 2 farmers markets in November and 2 in December. And so it'll be nice to have it inside. Obviously, those that work on a farmers market are thrilled to have it inside. We have 27 vendors, which is, I think, more than we have had in the past. So that's a wide range again. So it's good. You know, a few years ago when we started, we tried the indoor farmers market as just a trial basis, and it was successful. And so we do it now every year after we finish up the outdoor.
And the types of food items we find inside are what, more of the breads and jams and jellies? Is that what I recall?
Yes, correct. But we also do have produce. There are some. Yes,
still some hanging in there.
Still are some vendors with produce, and there are some that make their own soaps and things like that. And so it's a pretty good wide range, and we try to make sure that of the 27 vendors, that there's not a lot of repetition. That they're all. It's a nice range, and so I think it's great. And
again, at the Maple Grove Community Center in that upstairs area, so just walk in straight down the hall, and you will find them.
Yeah, right there, absolutely. The dome is up and in operation. I only saw a part of it going up, but it's always kind of a fascinating process to see it, going up.
And this is at Maple Grove High School, right behind the high school. So for residents of Maple Grove that might want to go in and walk, any advice you give them as far as parking during the school day or how they get into that area?
There's sufficient parking. The access into it is very easy. I mean, it's very noticeable. And I think we keep the temp in there like 52, 55, or something like that. So, if it's like today, cold, going inside there, we'll feel balmy.
That's right.
And it's a nice walking track around there. So we do get a lot of folks that come out there and just to walk around. So.
Excellent.
The Mayor's Prayer Breakfast is coming up on May 1st, and so the planning for that has started. It seems like a long ways off, but time does zip by.
And is that something as well that you're always looking for volunteers, if there's people willing to help out on the planning committee?
Absolutely.
More bodies make easier work?
It sure does, yeah, it sure does. We're always looking for someone who would like to volunteer. It's not a time-consuming event, but there is still some prep time that goes into the advance of it. So,
give you the city's phone number and website at the end of the program in case you want to give them a call or type in on the internet.
Right. The Historical Society, Maple Grove Historic Preservation Society, Sunday, November 10th, is going to be having an open house at the museum, which is just off of Forest View, 9030 Forest View. And it'll be from 1 until 4. Okay. And so I will be there as one of the hosts, and maybe it's because the gray beard.
I wasn't going to say that.
The gray beard. I think my wife will join me, but I'll be there for sure from 1 to 4 as a host. And they're fun and they're interesting because once we get people inside, they really get mesmerized by the history and the artifacts, and we have pictures of Maple Grove way back, and so everybody, those that maybe maybe have recently moved here, they like to see, well, see, no, my house, oh golly, my house is right here, and look what used to be, you know. So it's fun, and that'll be 1 to 4 on Sunday.
And you
the
mentioned
10th.
that is at the Public Works building. It's
old
that
Public
long building, but on the older portion of it,
Right,
that's, what
the
would that be,
east.
on the east
Right,
side of it?
Right, the east side of it.
Okay.
And there's a sign out in front that says 9030, and there's an old road grader, very, it's a road grader, small one that you pull behind a vehicle. It's a real old one. That sits out in front. And next spring, there'll be a sign put out there that it's the Historic Preservation Society Museum, and so.
So here's your history test to make sure you're qualified for this big event on the 10th. What would be the biggest fact as far as history in Maple Grove that you hear about that people say, I never would have thought that about Maple Grove, or I never knew that was in Maple Grove's past? Is there anything, 1 or 2, that stick out as far as the history in this area? My guess would have been gravel mines would have been one of the things.
Clearly, there's no doubt about that. Also, people, I think, are quite surprised with the tree coverage that we have. The other thing is people are really surprised is that we sit on top of a massive aquifer system, and you know, we're able to pump a lot of water. We've never had a sprinkling ban, and we can pump at least 30 million gallons a day, and so that helps us. It helps our residents. I think that we still have a lot of older homes in Maple Grove. I think people are quite surprised because when they either locate here or they pass through, all they see is the new or the relatively new homes.
Right.
We've got a long list of homes that are 100 years and older. And so it's interesting that we haven't lost our past entirely, and hopefully we won't lose it.
right.
There's still some elements. That
You
we
passed
wanna
the
keep.
test. I think we can come see you on, that's the 10th, you said again?
Yes, from
Okay.
1 to 4.
Excellent.
So it's a lot of things in there for everybody to take a look at, and myself and others will be there just talking about history of Maple Grove and the area. So
And you've got down pat how Maple Grove got its name.
hopefully.
Okay, very good. You mentioned the tree cover, so I think there's a relation there.
Right, yep. Parkway Station, which is our transit station, it's out by the hospital. That is scheduled to be open December 10th. We hope that that we'll meet that date, because right now we're doing off-site parking for our riders. We have seen a spike in our ridership. We're not quite certain why. Gas prices have gone down, not up, and so we've seen a spike in our ridership. But it'll be good to get that the Parkway Station open, because that'll add probably another 400 to 500 parking stalls.
And
It's a
after a
one-level
night
ramp.
like last night, with a little bit of snow coming down as we taped this program, people probably thought, that ramp looks awfully nice.
Yes, very much so, yes, absolutely right. So we hope that will be finished by December 10th. It will not be 100%.
Okay.
There's still landscaping and other things that'll have to be done, but people will be able to get back to parking into the Parkway Station. We are working with it's a partnership of 3. It's the city, it's the Osseo Maple Grove Basketball Association, and the School District 279 for adding 3 gyms to the Maple Grove Junior High School. And if there's not information on our website now, there will be very shortly. So it's kind of a partnership of the 3 of us. And it certainly is going to provide the Basketball Association with needed gyms, and allows them to attract a lot more tournaments. And so just at the Maple Grove Junior High itself, they'll have 5 gyms there.
Right.
And that's going to be a very, very large benefit to them in attracting tournaments, and tournaments is where the money is too. So.
And I would guess your park and rec people might be a little bit excited about this too, because it offers them additional venues to maybe have some recreation opportunities for residents.
Right, that's correct. Yep. So we're excited about it. We're working with a number of different companies in town to keep them in town. We're working with some companies that are looking at Maple Grove to locate into Maple Grove. Right now, I believe we have more than 50 commercial building permits that we're working on, and so that end of it has picked up. Office development is still slow.
Right.
It's going to be that way for quite some time to come. So, but we do have plenty of work to do.
And one in that area would be the FedEx building. Just a
Yes.
little update on that. That is really moving along quickly.
It is, isn't it amazing?
Mm-hmm.
It really is. When you first drive past it, you just see something coming out of the ground, and next time you go past it, and here's this mammoth facility, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's close to 300,000 square feet, and that, along with all the parking and, you know, the security areas, it occupies the entire site. But it,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that is coming along very, very well. I do not know what their schedule is for opening.
Okay.
I'm not certain about that yet, but my sense is that they must be running ahead of schedule, because it certainly has been progressing rapidly.
That's good news in the
Yeah.
world of construction.
You bet, absolutely right, yep. We had, let me see, just a few other things here to bring to our viewers' attention. I did mention the building permits, 208 versus 190. My thought is, by the time the year ends, we probably will be somewhere around 230, maybe 240, something like that. We also have several big multifamily projects going on.
Right.
We've got the Sky at Arbor Lakes, which phase one is, you know, a couple of hundred units. We've got the Botno Ridge affordable housing project by John Duffy. That's 50 units of phase one. And we're working with Silvercrest Properties for what's called Silver Creek on Main, which is a senior complex. Right. And their first phase number has moved up now. They're now going to be doing 195 units. So that one, because of the weather, and we had some unexpected delays, I don't think that one is really going to start taking shape until spring of 2014. They may get in there yet this year and start maybe moving some earth around before a real hard freeze happens, but the real development of it will be spring of 2014.
But the Sky at Arbor Lake, that again is another one that's moving along quickly.
Very
for
well,
people
yes.
to drive by there and think, now wait a second, that looks like a parking ramp. You're right. It
is.
is a parking
Yes,
ramp.
it
right?
is.
That's their design, is parking
Right.
ramp in the middle
And then they
of what will eventually
build-
be two sides.
Right, and then they build, you know, the units around it. And so if you're renting a unit on the third floor, you drive to the third floor, and you know, there you are. You don't have to go outside.
So not a public parking ramp, in case
No.
you were just wondering. It is for that facility itself.
And it's a good thing you pointed that out, because there has been some confusion. There have been some folks that have thought that the city is putting up a very large parking ramp. But no, this is
Not the case.
No,
All
not,
right.
not the case. We are working with a developer for the redevelopment of the county concrete site, which is along 81. It'll be nice to get that redeveloped. We're also working with the owner of the former Shell station, which is along 81. That had a fire sometime back. It closed. That will be coming down. The developer is coming in this month, November, and will be leveling the entire building, taking out the gas tanks and putting in new tanks, putting up a new Shell station and convenience store. It'll be a little larger than what was there now. I think they're looking at about 7,200 square feet versus probably 65 or 6,600 square feet was the old one. So, but they'll be seeing some action over there. That building's going to be coming down.
That's in one of those odd corners that you think that's got to be Osseo, but
Yes.
it's not Osseo.
No,
One
right,
of those right
it's
on the border.
Right on the border, absolutely right, yes. So let our viewers know that while December seems like a long ways away, the city offices will be closed on December 24 and 25.
Okay.
So, but again, that seems like a long ways away. I want to express our thoughts and prayers to the family of Phil Cohen. He passed away. Phil was Mr. Brooklyn Center, as he was always called, former long-term mayor of Brooklyn Center, and really the dynamic force in Brooklyn Center. And so once, I've always said, and I've told him the same thing, once you meet Phil Cohen, you'll always remember Phil Cohen.
You do not forget that
No,
man.
you
Yes,
certainly do
that
not.
is true.
No, he was a great.
And he had some ties in some ways to Maple Grove.
He did, as part of, he was part of our, obviously, our 610 Crossing Coalition and our Northwest Mayors group. He was a tireless worker for not only Brooklyn Center, but the Northwest Metro area. So our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, because it's a loss.
Definitely.
The meeting was 35 minutes long. It was longer, I guess,
Then the norm.
than some of the others we've had. We did enter into an agreement with the school district for use of our transit station. There will be a bus that will be taking students from Maple Grove or surrounding area to the University of Minnesota, and then later in the day bringing them back. And so we've done this. This might be our third year, and it's proven to be very popular with students that are, they live in Maple Grove, and here's a great opportunity just to catch one of the buses and head right to the University of Minnesota.
So this is, I would guess, maybe PSEO students that are at Maple Grove Senior High or one of the high schools in the Osseo district.
Correct.
And then going to the U to take some classes.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yep. You had mentioned about some warm fuzzies. Mark Nelson, who is in our utility department, our Public Works utility department, was presented with a very nice honor. The American Waterworks Association of Minnesota presented him as the Operator Emeritus Award of the Year. The ironic thing is that Jim Sadler, who is the supervisor in our Public Works division, also received that award. I think it was either last year or the year before. And so we've had two of our Public Works employees receive a very prestigious award, and so we're very, very pleased about that. The warm and fuzzy part, along with Mark getting the award, but was the ambassadors. The ambassadors came by to introduce themselves. We had Alexa Castonguay, Libby Warner, and Anna Worrell are the three ambassadors that'll be busy as the months go on. And Alex West is the coordinator now. She got married, and so I don't know what her new last name
is.
But Alex West, she's a coordinator. And so we're very proud of these young ladies. They're very impressive. They'll certainly do a very nice job promoting Maple Grove. Alex, as a coordinator, she's outstanding. She just does a tremendous job promoting the program. And so we were happy to have them stop by, and they gave a little background of themselves. And so we thought that was just a nice opportunity for them. The less warm and fuzzy things, we had 3 liquor license violations back in October. And it takes this long to get to the council, because we have to go through all the legal proceedings and paperwork and everything else. And so regretfully, we had 3 Maple Grove businesses. We're doing our compliance checks in 2 steps. The first one, we did a compliance check of 29 Maple Grove businesses that have liquor license. It doesn't matter if it's 3-2 and wine or if it's hard liquor.
Okay.
On sale, off sale. But Noodles had their first violation, unfortunate. And so they were fined $2,000 and will have a 2-day prohibition on selling 3-2 and wine at their establishment. Angino's was the next one, and again they were given 2 days suspension and a $2,000 fine. They've had a violation in the past, but it's been quite a number of years ago. And so if they have a violation, or first violation in 2 years, it's 2 days. If they have a second violation within a 3-year period of time, now we're talking 5 days. You have more than that, now you're talking about the city has the right to yank the license, not just suspend it, but they can just totally take away the license. And then the third one was Princeton's Liquor. They're off sale. And so they're a little bit different operation. When Noodles and Gino's, during a 2-day period cannot sell their 3-2 beer and wine, they've got other stuff to fall back on. But the council for Princeton's is a 2-day suspension and a $2,000 fine. So it hits the off sales a lot harder because they have to essentially shut down, and so I told them it's a good opportunity to take a couple of days vacation and enjoy the time off. There's more scrutiny out there by our police department. There also is, we're finding one good thing. It's a tough way for some of these businesses to learn, but more and more of them are now putting into effect scanning devices. And that's in the case of Princeton's Liquor. They have implemented now scanning devices, which, I think that it's not 100%. It still sometimes boils down to human error. But in the case of scanning devices, most cases it will not allow the cash register to open. It'll, nothing is foolproof today, I guess. But, but it's as close to it as can be, and so we're very happy. Costco last year had a violation, or earlier this year. I don't know if they've installed the scanning devices yet, but they stated that they were going to be doing that. So it's a good thing for all the businesses. Some may say, well, gosh, I don't want to spend, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Well, if you get caught, you got a $2,000 fine, and then you got at least a 2-day suspension. And in the case of, like Princeton Liquor, that's all you sell. Is liquor. So, so we dealt with those. What the council did is on each of the 3 directed the city attorney to find the necessary findings of fact. So that will come back, all 3 will come back to the next council meeting, November 18, and then at that time we'll determine what days. We always work carefully with the businesses, just to make sure, okay, these are the days, and we try to be consistent. So if we pick November 20 and 21 for one of them, that'll be the same days for the other 2. So we try to be consistent. So
you mentioned that this might be a couple phase process. You mentioned the number 29 is the number they apparently looked at in October. What is the total number now in Maple Grove of establishments? It's a rather large number.
It's about 54, I think, 55, somewhere in there, if you include, the 3-2 and wine, not just the restaurants serving hard liquor. So, we decided to do it in 2 phases. One was, well, staff-wise, it's a lot to do within a short period of time. And then also we did receive an $1,800 grant, which helped us doing it in 2 phases. But we're hoping that the next one coming up that there will be 0. It's always been our goal. I'm not certain if we've ever hit 0, but I think maybe 1 or 2 is maybe our lowest, and so I'm hoping that with the 3 this time, we get 0 now in the second phase. That 3 will be it. So, council offered its thoughts and prayers to Tom Mulligan. His wife passed away. Tom is a most unusual Maple Grove seasonal employee. Tom is a school teacher, just retired. Has been with the city for 40 years as a seasonal. He is the longest term seasonal employee that we've ever had. But he'd teach during the school year, and then in the summertime he'd come to work for us. And so we hope that he'll be back, but our thoughts and prayers go to him because he lost his wife. So then we did approve a special city council meeting for Monday, November 18 at 6:30. Purpose of that is just to review once more the 2014 budget. The actual budget hearing will come to the council on December 2nd. That's the formal hearing process. So if people want to come, and the special meeting on the 18th, that's open also to the public. But the actual formal hearing process for the 2014 budget will be December 2nd. So,
very good.
Yep. So that was it. It was was a good meeting, smooth meeting, and it was just, it's nice to have some warm fuzzies in there, you know, with Mark and the ambassadors and things. So that's always nice.
Question about the ambassadors, then we'll talk transportation for a second since we have a minute. We always like to ask Al transportation questions. The ambassadors, people might think after Maple Grove Days, that's it for their fun and excitement, and they wait till the next Maple Grove Days to give their crowns back, but not the case. They are representing Maple Grove in other cities. Tell us a little bit about how that works, that they oftentimes will be the face of Maple Grove, basically.
They are. There's no doubt about that, and that's a good point. No, it's not as if, okay, they get picked, they get their crowns as ambassadors, and now, gosh, they don't anything until June or July or whatever the case. No, they're out there. They won't be riding on floats at this time of year, but they are still out there as ambassadors to the city at various events and different functions that take place. If there's neighborhood gatherings or anything like that, they would like to have, you know, 1, 2, or 3 ambassadors, you know, stop by. They do that. So their time is filled. Obviously, as you get closer to the summertime, their time really gets filled because then they find themselves on the 45-foot long float doing their wave. And so they hit a lot of cities. But it's really a lot of activities, not just sitting on the float, but special events, yeah.
And I would guess they learn a little bit about city government in the process too. And
they do.
Probably have some interesting thoughts of observations of residents' comments and residents' interactions with the government.
They do. Excellent point. And then also, each year for all the candidates, I provide a tour of the government center and the public safety facility, and most of them, you know, haven't been inside because there's been no reason for them to be inside, and so they find that also to be very informative. So yes, it's a good opportunity for the ambassadors to learn. It's a good opportunity for the city to have them out there representing Maple Grove, and so we're proud of them.
All right, it's Al's 2 minutes on transportation. Ready, set, go. 610 and 494. Any thoughts about those two roadways in our area?
610, we're looking for work to begin spring 2014. We should have 110 million. 100 million is coming from a special program that the legislature created this past session, and we have 10 million still sitting in an account geared for 610. So that's 110 million. Work will start on that spring. That does not complete the entire project, and so we're continuing to work for additional funds. But it does help us, you know, move things along, acquire right-of-way. We do not have all the right-of-way yet. We got a lot of it, but we don't have it all yet. So 494, that's kind of an unusual one. That's one that's maybe it's a little tough for us to swallow.
You have to be careful of how you say this, right?
And tough for Plymouth to swallow, but
it
involves Med Council and MnDOT wanting to do what they call a dynamic lane on 494. So rather than what we call putting in a real lane, they want to put in a dynamic lane. Now, I will tell our viewers that it's going to be a traffic nightmare because 494, at least what I've been told, on both sides will be shut down to one lane, and that's going to be really, really tough.
And that might be
2-year project.
What month?
Well, they're saying that they're probably going to start late spring or early summer.
Okay.
And so, you know, but it's going to be shut down to one lane on each side of 494, and 494 carries a lot of traffic.
Yes.
The city of Plymouth and the city of Maple Grove, we're not happy with this short-term approach, what we call a Band-Aid approach. There just needs to be a permanent third lane put in there, and forget about this temporary dynamic lane. But that seems to be the way the Met Council and MnDOT is going. So.
All right. I don't think that's the end of the story. We'll probably talk more about that process as it moves along. Al, thank you very much again for your time. Let's leave you with some dates of the next council meeting. It is Monday, November 18th, 7:30 at the Government Center. Phone number at the bottom of the screen if you're interested in helping out in any ways. And up at the top of the screen, the Maple Grove website, all the information you need there. Viewer response line 533-1710. If you have comments about the program or things you'd like us to talk about, we certainly would take your calls and try to respond to them. For Al Madsen, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.